Okay, moving on to slide number 4. So this actually might be the most complicated in the bunch, but it's a lot of fun. The idea to this one is that the users, like I mentioned, will have the opportunity to actually write in unique words within each of these text boxes, and then when they click Let's Sing, they'll move forward. And the entries that they had selected will actually pull in to this slide and give the appearance of a Mad Lib. So at this point, I want to show you how we've actually put the slide together. So these guys here are inputs. So you get to inputs by coming up to insert, and this is where you're going to start to see all sorts of interactivity. Buttons, sliders, hotspots, markers. My goodness, there's so much to go into. But input is really pretty interesting. Mostly this is cool for the data entry, at least in my opinion, because what this is essentially saying is that you can draw a box and have a user enter some type of text in that, and then later reference that same text. So you'll see this a lot in courses where it says, enter your name, and you write Kathy, and then throughout the course, it'll say, hey, Kathy, like, what do you think about this option? What are your thoughts, Kathy, right? And so it's very, very easy to reference back to that initial input, and that's exactly what it's having us do here. So in this case, this initial text that you see on screen, it says type your text here. You can actually change that. So that's where I've written adjective, verb, animal, noun, whatever. So you can do that. You can do this. However you format this text is how it will actually appear in the box. So I could make it green, right? And so I could add a shadow maybe over here if I wanted to. I feel like shadows are coming back in a little bit. Not a lot of it, but a little bit. You could change the, fill of it if you wanted. Like, it's looking a little grotesque, but you get the point. So in this case, what's so cool is that Storyline is basically already set up a trigger for you. It's saying it created a variable, text entry 12. I have 11 other ones, so it's created text entry 12 equal to the typed value when text entry loses focus. So what this is essentially saying is make this box say whatever thing the user wrote in the box when they click out of the box. And so that's the magic. I'm going to come up here and preview this slide just to kind of show you with this box that we've messed around with here, right? So if I were to say, Kathy teaches us, exclamation point, well, now that box is set to that value. All right, so that's all good and well, but the really cool part about this isn't just being able to type something, but it's being able to reference back to what's been typed later down the road. So I'm going to get rid of that guy there and show you the ultimate point to all of this. So here I've got, let's see, 12. I have 12 of these variables, text entry variables. Now I'm going to come over here to slide 5 and show you that I have now referenced those variables. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of variables, but you can essentially create a word or a catchphrase that whenever the computer sees it, it'll do an action that you tell it to do. You name it something. And in this case, Storyline has just pre-named everything for you, beginning with text entry. And because we have, a number of text entry boxes, it just continues to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just fine. If you want to look at all of the variables in your program or in your presentation, you'll come up here to Manage Project Variables. And this is where you'll see them all. So I haven't put any custom variables inside of Storyline. They are already in here, and they're all text. And then you can see how many times they're used. How many times does the computer call that variable to take the action that you've set up for it? And in this case, you can see that, right? So if you wanted to add a new variable, you can come over here to the plus button and type a name for your variable. So I'll just click, new, I'll type new sample variable. You can't put spaces in here. You select your type, text, true, false, or number. And Truly, there are great, great, great tutorials on how to use variables, so I won't go into all of this right now, but just know that this is how you could set one of these up. So right now, everything has been preset for us. We have all of these that are already named. Now the only thing that we have to do is actually call them. We basically want to tell the computer, hey, okay, the user's put in all of these like 12 great words. Well, now we want to reference them later down the road. So that's what we're going to do here on this slide. And so in order to reference something that that the user has inputted, what you'll do is you'll come to text box. You'll always have a text box in order to do this. And then you'll come to reference. And reference is where it's actually going to pull your variables. So in this case, let's just do text entry 1. And see, it just calls it text entry 1. It doesn't look very pretty, but you can format this, again, just like you could with the text box, however you want it to appear on the screen. So let's say, text entry 1, let's come find out what text entry 1 is. It's part of the body. So let's say here I had typed nose. Well, over here, nose would appear. If we played it again and I typed head, head would appear. Whatever the user puts in, you can then show that same information later down the road. So in this case, I've kind of set everything up so that the fun words get pulled in here. So you can see Rudolph, the text entry, reindeer. The first text entry box, it just calls itself text entry. I wish it would have said number 1, but it didn't. So that kind of throws things off a little bit. But text entry, it's adjective. So if the user had typed silly, then it will show over here as Rudolph the silly reindeer. So 12 unique variables and text inputs are then referenced on the next slide so that when we actually play this slide, we can see how everything actually goes down. So the one downside to this is that in previewing, you won't actually be able to preview this slide on its own because it requires the input from slide, let's see, what is that? Slide 4 to play slide 5 correctly. So I'm going to preview the whole scene, but for now, let's just kind of see how this will all go down. The other thing I want to do is make sure, remember I told you, it's a little bit tricky to work with over here when you have to start stacking things on top of each other. This button here will hide and show different elements on the screen. I find that it's good to hide some because otherwise this starts happening and it's really difficult to track. But they all need to be active and visible for us to see what we're doing. So let's go ahead and preview this scene and I'll show you what it is that we're actually working with. And we can dive in. I think this will be a lot of fun for us. So I'll click begin. We've done all these things. Click next. Great. All right, so Mad Lib karaoke. I'm going to go ahead and fill some of these out. Let's see. Adjective, goofy, part of the body, toenail. Okay. Now we're going to click let's sing. Let's see how this works. Rudolph the goofy reindeer. See this? Pretty fun, right? You can definitely see a lot of really fun applications for something like this. Obviously, Mad Libs is something that you could do in an array of educational or academic settings, training as well. So the only other thing that I want to mention here is that similar to what we did with GIFs is you'll want to time things to come in and to come out at certain times. So you really just start to stagger them. Here, that's a bit of an issue. Pull that out a little bit, like so. So what I like to do is I've actually added animations to each of these. So I've done fades on each of these so that they just kind of come in really subtly. So otherwise they would be quite jarring. And everything else is just pretty much the same. As you're making your way along from slide to slide, be sure to move your progress indicator, as you can see, jumps up here. And an easy way to do that is to come up here to Format and actually adjust the X value depending on where you want them to jump. So I did some pretty bad math in here. I think I'm going up by maybe 75s. Let's see. Oh, 80. 80, what is this at? 160 hopefully. Okay, so you get the point. So essentially this is going to be like the last thing you do, setting up the progress indicator depending on what it is that you're working with. So that's, I think that's it. That's slides 4 and 5. So we're cruising right along.